You hear the name Lionel Messi, and you probably think of one thing, right? Just pure natural talent. It's like magic. Like he's playing a completely different game from everyone else on the pitch. But, is it really that simple? Was he just born a genius who just breezed his way to the top? I mean, it's a great story, but it might not be the real story.
Yeah, in fact, Messi himself tells a totally different story. 17 years. That's not magic, folks. That's a marathon. I mean, that one sentence just completely blows up the whole myth of the effortless genius, doesn't it? It points to something way, way deeper.
So, if it's not magic, what is it? That's what we're going to dig into today. We're going to peel back the layers on this legend and try to figure out, what are the actual ingredients? What's the formula for a genius like Messi?
All right, so the first piece of the puzzle, the absolute foundation of everything. It's not what he does with his feet. Nope, it's what's going on in his head. It's about his mindset, one that was shaped way before he became a global superstar.
And this quote right here, it says it all. This isn't just some motivational poster stuff. For Messi, this is a core belief. The idea that you don't just get your dreams, you have to fight for them. You have to sacrifice. So behind all those incredible goals is a very conscious decision to put in the work. Coach Brendan Rodgers came up with a phrase for this that is just perfect: working talent. The idea is simple. Natural talent is great, but it's just the starting point. It's the raw material. It's the daily grind, the dedication, the willingness to learn that turns that raw potential into the kind of genius we see week after week. Okay, so we have the mindset, but how does that actually translate to the pitch? We've talked about the what. Now let's get into the how. Let's put his game under a microscope and see what all that work really looks like. Because, it's one thing to say hard work, but what does that actually look like in the middle of a game? How do all those hours of practice turn into a goal in a split second? Well, lucky for us, some scientists got curious and decided to find out. So back in 2016, a group of researchers did this really fascinating study. They took 103 of Messi's goals and broke them down. But not by, saying, oh, that was a great goal. They analyzed them objectively, mapping his exact movements, his body position, even which part of his foot he was using. They were hunting for patterns. So the first thing they found is, well, pretty obvious. The guy is left-footed. The data shows that a whopping 78% of his actions leading up to a goal are with that left foot. I mean, no big surprise there, right? But here's the crazy part. The real genius isn't that he uses his left foot so much, it's how he sets himself up to use it. And this is where the study gets really wild. It turns out the secret to his lethal left foot is actually how he uses his right side. I know, it sounds totally backward, right? But it's a super calculated, repeatable move that he's perfected. So here's how it works. He angles his body to the right, and he uses the outside of his weaker right foot to dribble. Now, what does the defender do? They follow him, right? They commit to that side. And bam! In that tiny moment, he's created the exact pocket of space he needs to cut back onto his deadly left foot for the shot. This isn't just random magic. It's a specific move, a motor pattern honed through thousands of hours of practice. All right, so we've got the mindset and we've got the mechanics. But that still leaves a big question. Why? Where does all that drive, that incredible resilience, actually come from? Well, to get that answer, we've got to go back, way back. Just take a look at this. I mean, it's just one thing after another. At 10 years old, he's diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency that could have ended his career before it started. For the next 2 years, he's given himself daily injections. At 13, he moves 6,000 miles away from home to Spain. A year later, he breaks his leg, and then his family has to split up. His mom and siblings move back home to Argentina. He's basically a kid alone with his dad in a foreign country. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The mental strength it must have taken for a teenager to go through all of that. It's insane. Any one of those things would have been enough for most people to just give up and go home. But he didn't. That adversity, it didn't break him. It's what forged him. But here's the thing. Even after making it through all that, even after finding success, the work is never done. Because greatness isn't some finish line you cross. It's about the choices you make every single day. And Messi had the perfect example of this right in front of him, his mentor, Ronaldinho. I mean, Ronaldinho was an absolute magician, a talent that just took your breath away. But his flame burned out way too fast because he got distracted by things off the pitch. Messi saw that. He saw that fork in the road, and he deliberately chose a different path. He chose discipline. He chose consistency. He chose to build a career that would last.
And this, to me, is maybe the most important part of the whole formula. Even when everyone on Earth was calling him the best player in the world, he knew he could be better. He never thought he had it all figured out.
A perfect example is free kicks. If you go back and watch him early in his career, he was not a specialist, not at all. But then the legend Diego Maradona gave him a little piece of advice on his technique, and what did Messi do? He listened, and then he practiced, and practiced, and practiced some more almost every single day. He took a weakness in his game and, through pure relentless work, turned himself into one of the greatest free kick takers in the history of the sport. That's working talent right there.
So, we've peeled back all these different layers. Let's put it all together now. Let's look at the complete formula for what makes Messi, Messi.
First, you've got that resilient mindset, forged in all that adversity he faced as a kid. Then, you add in that scientifically honed skill, the mastery of those repeatable moves. On top of that, you layer on an unwavering discipline, that choice to constantly improve, and the fuel for the whole engine, a deep, deep passion for the game. That, right there, is the formula.
So what do you get when you put all that together? What's the result of that formula? Well, how about this number?
552. That's the number of competitive goals Messi scored for Barcelona. And that's not just the record. He more than doubled the club's second highest score. I mean, just think about that. The kid who was told he was too small, whose career was almost over before it began. He didn't just break the record books, he completely rewrote them. And that brings us right back to our original question. We see a player like Messi, and our first instinct is to call it magic, to call it genius, like it's something he was just born with. But maybe genius is just our word for something that isn't born at all. Maybe it's something that's built, painstakingly, one day at a time, for 17 years and 114 days.